Last year, wind energy added nearly half of all new power capacity in America. So let's generate even more jobs. Preventing only the defense cuts. By making even bigger cuts.
I think this State of the Union address once again showed that we have a president who has no idea about how to create jobs other than increasing government spending, who has no agenda that can pass this Congress, and who has no understanding that the welfare state has passed the point of affordability.
In his State of the Union speech this evening, President Obama said that nothing he was proposing in the speech would add a dime to the deficit.
Tonight I'll lay out additional proposals that are fully paid for and fully consistent with the budget framework both parties agreed to just 18 months ago.
It remains to be seen whether or not he'll be able to accomplish that. That said, Americans are deeply concerned about the deficit. In Pew's polling, concern about the deficit has risen 19 percentage points since the president was inaugurated. Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike are concerned about the deficit, and it was important for the president to address it tonight.
Also, the president said,
on Medicare, I'm prepared to enact reforms that will achieve the same amount of health care savings by the beginning of the next decade as the reforms proposed by the bipartisan Simpson-Bowles Commission.
The ones he suggested, I think, are really retreads of old ideas that have never actually done too much, except for with one exception. He said,
and the reforms I'm proposing go even further. We'll reduce taxpayer subsidies to prescription drug companies.
Well, fine. That's well and good, but actually the one part of Medicare that is really the most under control is the prescription drug benefit. Spending for that is well below what's been projected in prior years, and largely due to a competitive program. So that's really not the source of the problem in Medicare. The other thing he said was, well, let's use some...
President Obama said that he wanted to get rid of tax breaks for special interests.
We should do what leaders in both parties have already suggested and save hundreds of billions of dollars by getting rid of tax loopholes and deductions for the well-off and the well-connected.
But then he goes ahead and he lays out a series of special interest giveaways to things like green energy, where he says he wants to help manufacturing, he wants to help this company or that industry. So he pretends to be battling the special interests, but then he's laying out subsidies that go to special interests as long as they're doing what he likes.
In a speech tonight, President Obama proposed raising the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour by 20% to $9 an hour.
Let's declare that in the wealthiest nation on earth, no one who works full-time should have to live in poverty, and raise the federal minimum wage to $9 an hour.
This is at a time when the economy is struggling to create jobs, and this would really be the wrong type of approach to job creation. That we know from evidence and theory and economics that raising the minimum wage by 20% would guarantee that unskilled workers would lose their jobs.
The president said tonight that entitlement promises can never really be taken back. They can't be revised.
Our government shouldn't make promises we cannot keep, but we must keep the promises we've already made.
I really think that that's wrong and kind of dangerous for a president to say, because those benefit promises were made in 1965 under entirely different circumstances, especially demographically. We're living longer, we're having fewer children. We're going to have to revise those programs quite substantially, really, going forward. Not to take them away, we're still going to have those programs, but they need to be revised so that they can be secured for future generations.
The highest energy portion of his speech was when he talked about guns.
Overwhelming majorities of Americans who believe in the Second Amendment, have come together around common sense reform.
That was the strongest part of his speech, but it was one of the weakest parts of his agenda, because although the polls show that there is broad support for some of his ideas, that support is also weak. Most people don't give a high priority to those gun control ideas, don't think that they would do much good, and there is strong and intense opposition to them. So I have real doubts as to whether those things can actually pass the Congress, let alone whether they would do significant good in our country.